Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I am your host, Michael Ford, joined by my, regular cast of characters, we'll call it, returning champion of the Racial Draft, Carlos Freitas Jr. from the Latinx delegation. Carlos, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
Just needed to ask very quickly, did you bring any food for us in order to verify that you are in fact Latino?
They didn't draw any Puerto Rican food, so it's basically in DC, if you don't have tamales or amorphous tacos, then because I don't know what Jessica Cruz is eating, but that is not what a taco looks like. Then yeah, I don't know if you're Latino. I just don't know.
Yeah, so
how can I verify?
Yeah, clearly you have to amend all your fan art for all your seasons and bring in at least some empanadas, you know. We're also joined by Jared. Jared, have you brought any Jewish food for us to verify your ethnicity?
I have not. You know, we got no latkes, we got no gefilte fish, no matzo ball soup with me.
Well,
sorry,
you know, something to fix for next time. And we are also joined by, once our Zoom does its thing, but as we wait, we will banter just a little bit more.
I feel like Zoom has had more than enough time to figure out the whole onboarding, making it less awkward situation. And I just feel for anyone who joins a meeting late, because it always draws attention to itself, because you can't just there is no Zoom.
There's no
leaving the door open and just kind of sneaking in and.
Exactly. And you know, even worse, that it's not even a situation where they can hear us and we can't hear them. You know, it's a situation where neither of us can hear each other.
Right.
So it gets super awkward. But I think we finally been joined by Stephanie. Stephanie from the Screen Sisters.
Hey.
So you know, in keeping with DC Comics, have you brought any food to verify that you are in fact Black? Wait, did you just turn on gospel music?
No, my family's listening to Michael Jackson very loudly.
Okay. Oh, you're Black. Got it.
So you're welcome.
Look at that. Look at that. She's like, I didn't bring any food, but I brought some music.
I also just wanted to say that today was my first day at my brand new job, and I need to take a shower, but I wanted to come in and say hi, and that I love all of you equally, and you're all sexy. And yeah, you. I'm sorry. I'm Stephanie. I'm like this at all times.
No, you're
well,
good.
Stephanie,
nice to meet you.
Say a few things to the listeners, because this is going on the pod.
Okay. My name is Stephanie.
You might as well plug Screen Sisters.
My sister and I are Screen Sisters. We have a podcast. We are so busy with school and with me starting a new job and moving that we have not gotten together and had a pod since Thor.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Yeah. And we were like, we're gonna make a video for Nope. And then we completely forgot. And then we're like, we're gonna make a video
does that mean
something else.
Nope to Nope? I'm sorry. Well, Nope's back on it's on streaming now. So you can do a video for streaming.
Is it on streaming?
I guess you're right. Yeah.
And
I think it's on Apple TV, right?
No, I think it's Universal, so I think it might be what's their thing? Isn't their
Peacock.
thing? Yes,
Peacock.
there we go.
Yeah.
The cock, yes. But
Peacock. I'm like,
and you also
like, that's new.
And you also occasionally do watch parties where
I do watch parties. I'm sorry. This is my family. They're over there. See them? They're chilling.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna go into this room.
So yeah, I mean, you know, we're gonna get a lot more. We're gonna hear a lot more from Screen Sisters in the upcoming season of the Racial Draft, because I don't know if you heard that I've recruited you and your sister, to take the lead for the Black delegation. That doesn't mean
Check the lead in the Black delegation.
you are taking the lead. So don't worry, you'll still have Randy.
First and foremost,
you'll still have Randy to chime in. But but before we get into all of that stuff, I should probably remind the people of what we do here every week. Even in the off season, ironically, we change the complexion of the comic book universe one draft pick at a time through the racial draft. And we're going to be talking about a lot of nerd stuff, less than racial draft business. But don't worry, in October, the new season is coming, and in the new season, new rules. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Stephanie, what else did you have for the people?
Nothing.
Use protection.
Oh, great. Life advice.
That's
good.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
it's been a couple weeks. We took a couple weeks off. And since you've been gone, there was a lot of stuff that happened in the world of nerd news. Luckily, thankfully, during our last show, we had some movement in the whole Ezra Miller Flash controversy. Ezra Miller put in apologies from one side of the multiverse to the other, and maybe this version of Ezra Miller is going to stay out of trouble. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. We shall see. Seeking treatment for complex mental health issues. More on that later. No, let's do it now. Ezra Miller also met with executives from Warner. David Zaslav, the Axe Master himself. And Ezra Miller made sure to indicate that they would do everything in their power to stay out of trouble, or at least not get caught. But any thoughts, Jared, on the future of Ezra staying on the right side of the law?
I mean, at this point, it's just words. They really need to prove to me that they can, do right, and that would be by getting a little bit of help. They clearly are dealing with something that is affecting them, and I just hope that they get that they get better. But really, their actions need to be held accountable for what they
sure. I agree. We've talked a lot about this. Obviously, their actions need to speak louder than their words, and we are 10 months away from the alleged Flash movie, so that's a lot of months to stay out of trouble. Carlos, over under 5 months before there is an Ezra Miller legal kerfuffle.
I think that if Ezra Miller like steps on someone's shoe, it'll be in the news at this point. So
That's true.
Like everything is, when people were like, wait, aren't there open warrants for Ezra Miller? Like, no, Ezra Miller hasn't done anything. Like, Ezra Miller hasn't murdered anyone or anything. Like, Ezra Miller had some legal stuff.
The burglary charge does have a maximum sentence, I believe, of over a year and a $10,000 fine.
What I'm saying though is, like, the Twitter discourse has blown it up so much that people are like, wait, how did Ezra Miller show up for reshoots while being a fugitive of the law? Ezra Miller is not a fugitive of the law. Ezra Miller's
not Tupac, guys.
It's just not. Yes, Ezra Miller is going through some things and is on a whirlwind tour of chaos, but Ezra Miller is all. It's not natural born killers, guys.
Agree.
It's not to that level. So I do think that the chances of Ezra Miller having another legal kerfuffle, I think Ezra's got a drinking problem, and I think it's very likely that Ezra Miller could have some sort of alcohol fueled issue in the next 10 months.
Yeah.
Easily-
But and listen, and to be
easily
fair,
in the next 5.
right, and to be fair, there are people that have accused Ezra of things that are heinous. And if those accusations do bear out, then those are very serious, and those are things that we will not have to worry about Ezra being held accountable in the court of public opinion, because Ezra will be held accountable in the court opinions.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
other stuff that's on the periphery right now, if it has, those stories have legs, then this is all, it doesn't matter what Ezra's doing now, because that stuff is way serious.
Right.
Yeah.
So, clear, obviously, Warner Brothers Discovery, to the extent that they do have money, will be probably using their lawyers as best as possible to mitigate any of those charges. But, I feel like I'm stuck between, wanting the accountability, but also not wanting it to turn into, like you were saying, kind of like the Twitter version of what this situation is, where Ezra's an outlaw committing crimes and just escaping, committing crimes with impunity, like some sort of bandit. But we shall see. I mean, I think that the first steps were made, the first, steps in a PR tour that is usually a successful PR tour.
Yep.
And we'll see whether all these things fall into place. Do you peanut butter? Stephanie, do you have a take on this?
No, I've exhausted myself with Ezra Miller. It's been years.
It's been years. It has been years.
Justice League was
How long has it actually
2017. Like, they announced that Ezra Miller was going to be the Flash in 2013?
Before the Flash television show.
Yeah, like I've
exhausted.
I've exhausted myself talking about Ezra Miller. Like, I'm
That's
over
fair.
it.
How
That's fair.
long has Ezra Miller's legal issues been a thing? Because I feel like COVID stretched out all of time.
Mhm.
This started after COVID, right?
Yeah, the legal issues, I think, did start. No, they started before COVID, but like just before COVID.
Okay, like the winter before COVID or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
but people have been talking about Ezra's shenanigans, just
Yeah.
like Ezra being kind of weird
Yeah.
Mhm.
before
And
that.
he's trending every 2 hours for something.
Well, at this point, I just feel like putting Ezra in any tweet just doubles your exposure.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
people find a way to shoehorn Ezra into everything.
Like I was telling MTF offline, like I didn't follow what's her name? Sydney.
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, thank you. I was like Sweeney Todd.
You're close.
I didn't follow the whole discourse. Like I was only catching what was on the periphery. And I thought like, oh, she must have had a party in blackface or something. It must have been something. And then I finally got to the bottom of it. I was like, this is what Twitter is exploding over? Like, really?
Yeah.
That was so silly.
Yeah.
Well, we should definitely do a segment of me just telling you the news as reported by Twitter. Well, speaking of,
has to do with Gina Carano making a Hunter's laptop movie.
That looks terrible.
It looks amazing because it looks so terrible.
I remember when people wanted Gina Carano to play She-Hulk.
What a fall from grace.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, self-inflicted fall from grace. It's not
Yeah.
even a tragedy.
She was gonna have her own spin-off show. She had it made. She had it made, and she did all of that to
Well,
herself.
here's the thing. Not only was she going to have a Star Wars show, she was going to have a show where they finally figured out how to craft around her limitations as an actress. Like it was so the role was so perfect in that it only needed her to fight and just kind of mug for the camera, which she's been doing since her MMA career. And then they would just surround her with other more capable actors and some CGI. Like she could have done that and been fairly successful, but she had some problematic views and decided, you know what I want to do? I want to share them because I'd rather be a right-wing, mascot than be a star of one of the biggest franchises in the history of franchises. She made her choice, and I'm happy that she's living in her truth.
Her truth social.
Her truth, yeah. Yes, her truth social, exactly. Nice. Staying in the realm of the Warner Brothers Discovery, we got to talk about the Axe Master himself, David Zaslav, and the cuts. Let's talk a little bit about animation. We can, some series didn't make it. They're not staying on the HBO platform. I think we talked about some of those. Oh, I guess we haven't, because since you've been gone, like a lot of things went down, and one of those was that there was some big cuts in animation. The executive vice president of animation also left the role, and fair amount of animated projects left the HBO Max platform. A lot of their social media presence was also deleted, and it's just part of the overall Zaslav cost-cutting plan. More recently, it was revealed that animated projects such as Batman the Caped Crusader, a Steve Urkel animated special, two Looney Tunes features, and another project called Driftwood have all been Driftwood was fully canceled. These other ones were just confirmed to not be on HBO Max, and they will be shopped to other platforms. Hulu has been emerging as the favorite for some of these, but I'm sure they're opening it up to as many as possible. But that's the axe slashing. Guys, have any further thoughts about the cuts?
I think it's crazy short-sighted to kind of to pinch pennies right now when you're by getting rid of IP. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Like I fundamentally I understand the strategy. I just disagree with it.
Well, so I mean, I've been thinking about this for a little while, and what I feel is that streaming is an expensive proposition. Pivoting your business plan from whatever you were doing before in the old world to streaming, the losses are in the billions for doing that. And where that hurts WB specifically, or Warner Media specifically, is that they used to be just a producer of content that would sell to whoever wanted it. And the pivot to even creating HBO Max, pulling back all, Disney, we saw Disney sort of do it with Netflix. They had to, pull back all their content from different streaming platforms. And in the short run, they lost a lot of money, but because they had sort of lined everything up in terms of when these deals were going to sunset and when their new platform was going to launch, they were able to quickly go from 0 to 60 in terms of subscribers and turn it around. We talked about before how HBO Max flubbed their launch. They had all these subscribers that didn't convert their accounts. You had all these things that happened behind the scenes, and in that time where HBO Max was sort of starting slow, the content that they would have been making money on, because they would have been licensing it to Netflix, to Hulu, to international television networks, which is what they, syndication deals, all these things, even CW, when the CW sort of pivoted, a lot of the things that they were doing with their content that was generating revenue started costing them revenue. And then AT&T pulls the rug out from under them and says, now we're selling while we're $50 billion in debt. So in order to beef up their streaming platform, something's got to give. They have to either say, we're not going to go into streaming at all, which would be terrible. It would be, a complete capitulation. Or they have to sort of be strategic about like where they're pulling back and where they're moving forward. And I guess we're gonna kind of dive into the next story because it looks like they're focusing on the big ticket items. One of those big ticket items is the Batman. Matt Reeves signed a multi-year deal at Warner Brothers, first look deal for future projects. The Batman is back. It's as if we, Batman sequels happening. There's a writer now. They're getting started with the project. Mattson Tomlin is going to be the co-screenwriter with Matt Reeves for the Batman sequel. There's the what was it? The Penguin show. That's a go again. The Arkham show. That's a go again. So, they're betting big on Batman. Imagine that. Whoever thought that Batman is where they're going to make their money? Jared, do you have any thoughts about the pivot to Batman?
It makes total sense to me. It's just that I feel like a lot is riding on this Batman sequel. The Batman that was set up in the Batman. It felt, I was just hoping it just felt back at like they brought it back to square one. I feel like a lot of there is so much expanding that they can do from just the Batman characters and the Batman universe. They can, do Bat Family spin-offs and Catwoman's
Batgirl,
Batgirl.
Which sadly, we did manage to talk about that on our last show, but that was a little bit of not a little bit. It was a very big flub on their part. We had asked before whether it was a smart strategy, to do a Batgirl project when you weren't really sure what you were doing with Batman in the main universe.
Yeah. In hindsight, I think like that's very fair. I'd say they should introduce their own Batgirl just to streamline everything in that in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. But I feel like it's going to take a while for them to get there, and I don't know how interested they are in exploring Batman's other characters.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like, well, I say it doesn't seem like Matt Reeves is very interested in that. And I think because Matt Reeves isn't interested in it, I think that's why they're doing this bifurcated approach, which is sadly, to the detriment of the remainder of the Bat characters, because, you can mine. We've already seen characters like Harley Quinn, get a following, characters that are sort of like one step removed, like Black Canary. Batgirl probably would have got, even if the movie itself didn't really hit on all cylinders, the Batgirl character probably would have gained a following, and people would have been interested in what she was doing next in the universe. They're sort of not moving forward with a strategy for Batman in their connected universe. I think they're hamstringing the development of the universe. Now, I guess we should transition into the one glimmer of good news in the week, and that is that they may have found their guy. They may have found their quote unquote Kevin Feige, their 10-year planner, their person that might be able to pull it together and help them develop a cohesive plan across all media. And that man is Dan Lin. Were you familiar with Dan Lin? Stephanie, were you familiar with Dan Lin before the news from last week?
Not at all. Yeah, I didn't know who he was. I still don't know who he is. Do you guys have any idea what he's been doing for his career? Okay.
So he was a producer on a number of projects, including the Lego series. So like
Okay.
Lego Batman, the Lego movie. He produced the It movies. He's got a deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else he's done. He sort of started up.
I don't do horror, so I've never seen those.
I mean, he started under Alan Horn, and it looks like Alan Horn has
Okay.
already been paying dividends as a consultant for Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
But basically, like he's worked on a lot of projects on his way up. He worked on Aladdin as well.
Seems that Dan Lin was like the main driving force behind the George Miller Justice League movie.
But that one got canceled, so
it did get canceled.
When was that supposed to happen?
2008.
2008.
Ooh,
It got canceled.
that would have been a movie.
It got canceled. Well, Army Hammer was their Batman. It got canceled. Yeah.
Speaking of controversial figures,
it got canceled because Chris Nolan was like, "We can't. My trilogy is still going, and
Okay.
you can't do this." Like, and Chris Nolan had weight at Warner's, and that's why they canceled that project. So it's interesting that Dan Lin is coming in when they're basically in the same scenario where they're trying to build a DC universe, but they've also got this Batman universe that is not connected to it, and this Joker universe that's not connected to it.
yeah,
Like it's interesting that like maybe Dan Lin gets to. So I got to imagine Dan Lin wanted to make the Justice League movie that he was working on. So I think it's interesting that he might get that chance now to like, yeah, keep your Batman movie and we're gonna make our Justice League thing.
But yeah, I mean, by all accounts, he's well liked around Hollywood. He will probably be doing a lot of damage control on the talent side in terms of like he has also worked on, or currently working on, the Avatar: The Last Airbender show for Netflix that's due to come out soon. Although that one has been a kind of troubled production. But regardless, he's got more successes than failures.
Okay.
He is a Hollywood guy. And he's a youngish guy, so he's hip. He's got. I think it could work out. I think it could work out for him. But they've still got to navigate the stories that I'm about to continue to talk about, which is that movies got pushed back. Shockingly, DC and WB pushed back movies. Could you imagine?
Wild.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
I know, it's never happened before. So yeah, looks like Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Those kids just get older and older.
Yeah, dude.
And that movie's been pushed back from December 21st to March. I'm not sure what March 17th. There we go. And Aquaman is moving from March 17th to Christmas 2023.
That one's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's reshoot territory for me. So ladies, it's gonna, you're gonna have to wait if you want your Jason Momoa in a wetsuit fix. But
I've heard that the reason that they did this was basically because they couldn't afford to market the movies.
I heard that too.
Which honestly, that instills confidence in me more than the other postponements. It's like, oh, okay, you couldn't afford to market them, but you are confident in them. You do believe they will work. You just want to be able to push them to their maximum potential. So basically having one DC movie every quarter or whatever next year, which, is what they were supposed to do this year, but neither here nor there.
Especially because, look, the hierarchy of marketing is about to change because they don't have to put nearly as much money into Black Adam to promote that movie.
No, I think Dwayne is doing all the marketing. I think he was by my house today to leave posters for the lawn, some signs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, between the Flash doing its own form of viral marketing and the hierarchy of marketing changing ever so slightly every year, every minute of every day, they're just pushing it back so that they can hopefully make some money And then, as we know, typically they spend the same amount on marketing that they spend on these movies. And in part of why they didn't want to put out Batgirl is because they didn't want to spend another 100 million to market the movie, which they didn't have it, you know?
I mean, and they also, like, let's be real, they got Shazam the hell out of the way of Avatar 2.
Yes, that
like,
too.
What are you doing? What were you ever going to do at that point? It was never.
Yeah.
And to be fair, WBD was not the group that is currently running the company. Were not the same group that set that date.
Right. The other thing, like the thing that instills confidence is that they didn't move either of these movies to their summer slate, meaning Blue Beetle and Flash are still part of the
still
plan.
on track. Still on track. Still on still part of the plan.
Had Aquaman or had maybe Shazam taken the Blue Beetle spot, be like,
yeah.
Wait a second.
That's a good point. The fact that
he holds tacos in the movie poster, can we keep him then? Like,
yeah, good point.
What if he's got a bag of tamales and a sombrero? Can he stay on the DC slate or? But no, but like the fact that they didn't move those movies, I think is a good sign. Like, okay, they're not. I don't believe they're going to run away from the summer. So.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. The fact that they felt more confident or more comfortable putting Aquaman back in the end of the year spot that it had its success, as opposed to trying to shoehorn it into summer release to the detriment of Blue Beetle, does bode well for how that how that production is tracking.
Yeah.
So, we touched on Batgirl, so we might as well talk a little bit about how, not handled in the best way in terms of talent relationships. The directors tried to log in, and their passwords had been basically locked out, so that they couldn't get access to footage and try to curry favor, I suppose. Try to get a little Snyder Ayer cut type deal going. There's also been doing these things that have been nicknamed funeral screenings, where people who worked on the movie will get the opportunity to see the unfinished movie on the Warner Brothers lot. I mean, I suppose as a way of just acknowledging the work that they did, even though it's never going to see the light of day unless they all of a sudden become cash flow positive and pay back the tax break that they're getting for not putting the movie out, because the IRS is very serious. You are not going to get your tax break if you in any way try to monetize the movie. So the fate of Batgirl continues to be a sad one.
Yeah,
I heard that they were talking about like destroying the film so that the IRS would give them their money up front, because apparently it's like an annuity or something until however many years or whatever they get to write it off.
Yeah, but my understanding is that they're getting it. They just have to be very serious about making sure that they don't monetize it.
So apparently what I read, and maybe I misread it, was that like you get it, but like you don't get it like, you don't get to write it off, whatever, $20 million this year. You get $1 million a year for 20 years, or however they break that down, 4 million a year for 5 years, just in case you ever re-release it.
Right. No, but I think that's the standard. I think that's how things standardly work. But I think the combination of the fact that they're getting it post-merger, like a big part of this has been that because these were projects that were produced pre-merger, they have like a bigger window with respect to their ability to write things off that happened in the old regime. Okay. But they can't lollygag in terms of their write-off. Because of that situation, because of, like you said before, other companies can take the write-off, the partial write-off, because of the possibility that they can monetize it. Yeah. And then if they monetize it in any way, then they forfeit the rest. they have to put forth sufficient effort and show the IRS that they have no plans whatsoever to monetize it. And in that situation, destroying it would be definitive, right? But but they could also just put it on the server and lock it up so that nobody has access to it.
Mhm.
Nobody except for Digital Don Cheadle and his.
Stop it.
Yes, or the people in the Matrix.
Yeah, somebody pointed that out this week on Twitter. It was like there are 2 Warner Brothers movies released in the last year where an AI is the evil, like an AI corporate, whatever studio head is the villain.
They're the villain, and they're specifically about soullessly managing IP.
Specifically commenting on Warner Brothers is hilarious.
Yeah, but listen, we talked about wins. We got to talk about their biggest win of the last 2 weeks, and that would be Hot D, House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon broke records, the biggest debut in the history of HBO Max. And 10 million people watched it live. 20 million people watched it over the first week. And this came after a marketing push of about $100 million. So we just talked about how they were not able to market their movies to that certain extent, but they marketed the hell out of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And winter or profits are coming. And that dragon roar.
Oh, you said profits. I thought you meant profits, like
religious prophets.
Yeah.
Like religious prophets. I mean, prophecies about prophets
They're probably coming like a motherfucker too, but
but so yeah, I mean, we're not a Game of Thrones House or Hot D podcast, but I don't know if you guys are going to stay on board this Game of Thrones zeitgeist prophet train, but we might actually racially draft some Game of Thrones characters in some upcoming weeks. So we'll see about that. We still got a couple weeks before we start the new season. So
when does it start? Like, what's the official date
for the new season?
Yeah,
October 1st.
Okay.
So we've got some time for some theme episodes. One of the things that I could talk about now for the listeners, we're gonna switch the podcast up a little bit. If we have more than 4 guests at any given time, I might just spring a racial draft on our guests. And we'll just racial draft some pop culture entity live on the podcast. So you got that to look forward to as we get more and more new blood in the podcast. We're gonna do some more racial drafting. So
blood.
Exactly. New blood.
I like the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon abbreviates to Got Hot D. It's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
They listen. They know how to manage search engine optimization. The next show is the acronym is gonna be FEAT, and
oh no.
Yeah. I didn't plan what the acronym would stand for. The T is for Thrones, of course. Yeah. Fire everything.
Everywhere, all at feet. No, doesn't work. I'm bad at this.
Yes. We'll work.
You know how you can tell She-Hulk is catching on? I Googled She-Hulk the other day, and the Google filled out, it was like She-Hulk, and the next, like, it started filling in like common whatever searches, and like the third one down was feet. It's like,
nice.
Really?
Listen, they knew what they were doing when they had that shot of her stepping out of those pumps. They know. We know
what show is Quentin Tarantino's favorite.
Exactly. Yes. Shameless plug for our She-Hulk review podcast, Shulkin and Jivin. You can expect a new episode.
I forgot that was the name.
You can expect a new episode this week, hopefully. And yeah, we're gonna be doing some more shulking and jiving this week. So moving on though into the world of Marvel news, there was actually some Marvel news. You might have heard of. Yeah, we actually found out to almost certainty, who will be directing the Fantastic Four movie. And that man is Matt Shakman, who you might know from WandaVision fame. So Stephanie and her mustache.
See?
Oh, is that a Spanish?
No, I just said C. I'm so
Oh, okay.
sorry. Does this mustache make me look Spanish?
I was thinking more Italian, but you know, it's me. It's a Stephanie. But yeah, what are your thoughts of Matt Shakman bringing some WandaVision energy to
One
Fantastic
question.
Four?
Did Matt Shakman direct every episode of WandaVision?
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I am a person that is not white, I would have liked someone who was not white to direct the film.
That is totally fair.
I also kind of wanted someone like really dirty sci-fi director. So I don't know, and I don't know why I use the word dirty. So
yeah, I was wondering that myself.
Yeah, so like
Emmanuel in space, like the dirty sci-fi that we're going for.
well, I was thinking something more like, I mean, I know
like gritty sci-fi, you mean?
Yeah, like I know Noah Hawley did Legion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know Alex Garland did Annihilation.
Right.
So I was leaning more towards that, like
yeah.
See, the problem is that weird.
See, the problem, like, I would have said I wanted that as well, but there's a little movie called Four Stick, which I think has soured people on the idea of like a gritty Fantastic Four movie, a gritty sci-fi Fantastic Four movie.
And I'm gonna sit right here on live air and tell you that Fan Four Stick had good bones. It was just handled terribly.
I could see where you're. I could see why.
I think that movie had good bones, and I know everybody hated New Mutants, but I think that movie had good bones too.
I like New Mutants. I'm not really precious about the mutants though, so like it worked for me. But also Fantastic. At the risk of sounding like a cultist, like release the Trank cut because he was pretty adamant.
Yes,
like, that is not my movie, and I'm interested. Once a director like basically risks their entire career, which he essentially did, to be adamant online.
But to be fair, he also risked his entire career by developing a coke habit and being, really bad and hard to manage while the movie was being made. So I think that he.
What?
yeah. Josh Trank was heavy using coke while he was making that movie.
Listen, there was a line item in the budget for Apocalypse Now for snow tires in the Philippines in the summer. I'm sorry, coke on Hollywood sets is as old as coke and Hollywood.
That is, I mean that listen, all that's fair, but I think that he's a young director coming on the heels of his first real movie being a success.
Yeah.
Didn't he do Chronicle?
He did Chronicle.
This was the movie.
Chronicle is perfect.
That was a movie he did right after Chronicle, though. Like they gave him a ton of money after Chronicle, and they were like, "Hey, how would you like to do Chronicle with Fantastic Four?" And he was like, "Got it," And I agree. I agree that the movie had the bones of a good movie, but it also felt like a movie that was taken away, from a director,
right?
Where the studio was like, "All right, we can't do this."
Chronicle correctly predicted fandom culture in that when the picked on nerd finally got powers, he was a dick. He was a total asshole.
Yeah, and the person that got the powers and was like completely cool about it was the first one, and he was a person of color, and he was the first one to get got.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Josh Trank's cut at some point, just because it was like, dude is adamant that wasn't his movie. I just want to see what it was, because I might come out and go, yeah, it's a good thing your cut didn't make to light, because whatever.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to, and I hate to sound like the corporate chill, but I'll be the corporate chill right now. It goes back to the fact that, like, you make an agreement with the studio that they're going to give you money to make a movie, and at some point, if they think that you're going off the rails, they do have the right to kind of fire you, and they have the right to say, you're over budget, you're past you're past deadlines, and you might still have a vision that you want to see be borne out, but it's not our job to like continue to pour money into that so that you can realize your vision. And I think, and again, as fans, we can see the movie and say, oh man, wouldn't it be great if someone just showed up, and dropped another $100 million in his lap so he could finish it, like,
which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it's like, but that's not what you did, and now we're stuck looking at the work that you did produce and feeling like it was wanting. And
there was the Fan Four Stick, and then there was like Spike Lee's Old Boy, which like he pulled his name off of. Like, those are interesting. Oh,
I didn't know that.
It was.
I didn't know it took his name.
He wouldn't refer to it as a Spike Lee joint. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
It was like he couldn't, because he didn't have the control over it that he normally would over a joint.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there were interesting little stories like that. I always wonder, like, what was what was their version, or whatever.
No, I mean, and one of the reasons that these high-powered directors eventually do become their own producers is so that there's no one in the way, and they could use their own money, to get these movies made. But
now, getting back to Matt Shakman,
sure,
he's the exact opposite of Josh Trank, where like, he almost only, if not only, does television. He's a television director, and he's directed everything. Like, he's directed Everybody Hates Chris. He's directed Game of Thrones. Like, he's
so that is everything.
Everything. He's run the gamut, which also, though, kind of speaks to, like, there isn't like a Matt Shakman style. There isn't a Matt Shakman palette. There isn't a Matt Shakman. Like, if you tell me I'm going to see a Matt Shakman movie, okay, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you were saying that you wanted a dirty sci-fi, which really just means like an auteur in the sci-fi space.
Auteur.
And Matt Shakman is just not he is like decidedly not an auteur.
Right.
Okay.
And honestly, like, I think that we've talked about the Fantastic Four before. We've talked about, to some extent, Fan Four Stick. I think that Marvel's looking for like something a little bit more down the middle for Fantastic Four. I think they just want to prove that they can, almost like the way Spider-Man Homecoming was able to wash away what people thought of the previous Spider-Man movies. Not to say that Homecoming was bad. It wasn't. And not to say that Homecoming didn't take any chances, but it was fairly down the middle in terms of like artistically and creatively. It was like, hey, we're just gonna go back to basics. We're gonna modernize it a little bit. We're gonna give you a good solid, a good solid villain, a good solid plot, some interesting things, and then we're gonna let you know that the franchise is in good hands, with some stewards that know who the character is. And I think that the risk whenever you bring in an auteur is the auteur is going to have ideas. And then you have to tell the auteur that their ideas are not the producer's ideas, and there's a whole big clash. I think I'd said before that it would be really cool if they would get like Edgar Wright in there and kind of be like, hey, remember before when your ideas weren't what we wanted for Ant-Man? Well, now your ideas will be what we want for Fantastic Four. Like that would be awesome. But clearly, despite reports otherwise, despite reports otherwise, Marvel wants to go safe for Fantastic Four. And, I get it. Jared, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. I know you're pretty close to scoop culture. So, you were a little bit aware of where the rumors were going with respect to Fantastic Four. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors swirling around about Fantastic Four. What are your thoughts about Shackman and just kind of like Fantastic Four in general?
He's a safe choice. I'm fine with it. I happen to really like WandaVision. And looking at some of the other things that he directed like 40 something episodes of Always Sunny. And obviously that's
really,
yes, obviously it's not one for one with the Fantastic Four, but like Always Sunny is about a group of people who essentially act like a family. Like that's really like at its core, just a group of people interacting with each other. And like when you break down Fantastic Four to its barest bones, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of family, but a family nonetheless. I think Matt and also he was going to direct that Star Trek project that he was so like clear.
So he had to leave the Star Trek project to take Fantastic Four.
Like there are projects that he has directed and was going to direct. Like clearly he must have made some sort of pitch to, like they must have seen something.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the pitch is the gang gets bombarded with cosmic rays.
Exactly.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for getting the joke. I now want to.
I've been watching that show since it started. I've been watching It's Always Sunny since it started. Like even my dad watches it.
I now want to see the Always Sunny people as a Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's been mocked up. That's there. You can.
Oh, it's there.
Everyone wants Glenn Howerton now as Reed Richards. I personally don't see it as much. I think.
Oh no, I don't see it, but I see it if they're all together. I see it.
Yeah, totally.
But so
wait a minute. If they're the Fantastic Four, then if Dennis is Reed, I have
it was just
Sue. No, I know, but there's five of them. So who's
there's you mean who
because there's Frank, Charlie, and Matt.
So Frank would be Dr. Doom, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd say Max should be Dr. Doom.
No, Max gotta be what's his name? Max gotta be Ben Grimm.
No, they're like I've heard the two different versions where it's like I've heard Mac as Johnny Storm and Charlie
as Ben Grimm.
As Ben Grimm. I
guess I could see either. I could see either.
If Danny DeVito were like 40 years younger and about a foot taller, I'd say he would make like the perfect Ben Grimm.
I mean, he would be Mole Man if we're being honest.
Well, now,
so
Danny DeVito as is Mole Man.
Yeah, so I mean that works as well. And I guess the waitress is Alicia Masters. Is that how we?
That works. Oh, waitress.
So yeah, I'm behind on Always Sunny several seasons.
Really?
Yeah. No, actually, who's Dr. Doom? Who are those? Who's the family? The brothers. They're like creepy.
Oh, the McPoyle brothers.
Yeah, the McPoyle. Like one of the McPoyles is Dr. Doom. There we go.
I get it.
Yeah. But that's So yeah, Matt Shackman as a Fantastic Four director, and like you said, Jared, he did have to leave. He did have to leave Star Trek to take that role on. I mean, take that director.
Well,
gig.
He's also doing that Godzilla show.
Mm.
Or
is he directing that though, or is he?
I think he is.
He directed one of the Godzilla movies, didn't he?
No.
He
I
did,
don't think-
you know what? No, that was Dan Lin producing.
I don't think he's done a movie yet.
Right. I've been on IMDb a lot this episode, guys. But yeah, Matt Sheckman's directed Mad Men, New Girl, Fargo, Grace and Frankie, You're the Worst, The Good Wife. Like he's all it television. He's directed, and he grew up on television sets. Like he was on Just the 10 of Us, if I'm not mistaken. Like he's been around. And
Oh wow, yeah. Okay.
just like-
I'm looking
he's
at his thing now.
and that's why he was so perfect for WandaVision. And that's why I think personally, the strongest episodes of WandaVision are the first three. And then once it starts getting Marvel-y, which is kind of the worry, once it starts getting a little Marvel-y is when I kind of lose the thread. And
see, I still think the strongest episode was episode 4, after the sitcom.
Is that the catching up with
catching up with Monica.
I like the 80s episode, though I do think the magic act in episode 2 might go down as the greatest MCU scene of all time.
I think the first, as someone who grew up with I grew up with Nick at Night watching Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched, like those first 2 episodes those were heaven. I was like, this is incredible.
Oh no, I do think those episodes were good. I just think that those first 2 episodes, kind of relied a little bit more on like the mystery of like not really knowing what's happening.
Sure.
Whereas, 4 is where you actually get into the meat of like what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then of course everyone acknowledges that the last episode is where things go a little bit off the rails.
And I was out the episode before. I was like, this is rough. The Wanda's backstory episode was like,
a lot of people love that episode.
I know.
You're an outlier, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
get
people love that episode.
That might be my favorite episode, actually.
I'll never understand the love for that one. I think like Catherine Hahn is like it's cringy watching her be like, and what are we looking at now? And
that was definitely the episode where Catherine Hahn was not in her wheelhouse.
No, not at all. Yeah, it was rough. Anyways, neither here nor that's all.
I think the trade-off in those episodes was that Wanda was doing the heavy, Elizabeth Olsen was doing the heavy lifting with the acting in that episode. So if you may have not appreciated her acting before that episode, but that's the episode where her acting was undeniable. So, and I guess people were just willing to take the trade-off of Catherine Hahn taking the super backseat so that, so she could clear out for Elizabeth Olsen to act. But
that was also the thing that started with Marvel on Disney Plus was like it and actually I think She-Hulk is the first one that's going to buck the trend where it's like developing all this momentum and then right before your finale, like let's go and see, let's fill in all of the backstory. And I think this is it's been done to varying degrees of success. I think Moon Knight probably does it the best. That like Moon Knight backstory one is fantastic. But yeah, like that was the first time I was like, wait, but we just finished with Agatha all along, and now I've got to watch this episode where she's like in the background, like doesn't really need to be in this episode, but she has to be because of the plot.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I forgot that it came on the heels of Agatha all along. So finishing out the nerd news is two ape stories. The first one, I'll go ahead and talk about the fact that there was going to be a new Planet of the Apes franchise, and they found their person to play an ape. I'm not sure how to assess this casting. Luckily, it's a white person and not a person of color, so I can just be like, I could see it. I could see how he could look like an ape. I could see how he could be Simeon. This actor, Wes Ball is going to be directing, but Owen Teague, who I have never seen before, is going to be playing the lead ape in the franchise. I don't think he's going to be playing Caesar, so it'll be a new ape.
Well,
Is he the guy?
Caesar dies in the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but I don't know if this is going to be a continuation.
I'm saying even if it was, he's dead.
Yeah.
Isn't Owen Teague in the It movies?
He's one of the bullies.
Yeah.
Patrick Hockstetter. He had the flamey thing.
I definitely don't remember him.
I recently rewatched it.
Gotcha.
So that's why that's fresh in my mind.
So what is your take? Can he successfully play an ape? What do you think, Jared?
I mean, sure.
Oh,
I'm not. That's the only thing I've seen him in, and he was in the sequel, I think. So I'm looking at IMDb right now. It says he was in the sequel. I don't remember that. Nothing suggests that he would like be amazing as an ape, but like, there's no reason why he can't play an ape.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, man. After what's his name? After Andy Serkis, like even like the actor who played Koba was also the actor who played Doctor Doom in Fantastic.
Yep.
Um,
He's great.
yeah,
I honestly think if they wanted to, I mean, I'd rather them get a Romani actor, but like if they wanted to bring him back as Doom, I wouldn't mind it.
Oh,
I hear you.
Yes, but there's no
Toby
way.
Kebbell,
No.
that was the actor's name.
I love
Toby
him.
Kebbell. Yeah.
His episode of Black Mirror is excellent as well.
Yes,
so
yes,
good.
he was just poorly used in Fantastic as the entire cast was.
That scene where Doom shows up for the first time and he's just like murdering everybody in that facility. I was like, yes.
That's
Yes.
probably the best scene in that movie.
Oh God.
Yes, it was, but I didn't make a lot of sense. But it was exciting, but it didn't make a lot of sense.
I liked it.
But yeah, I'd be cool with seeing Toby Kebbell in something Marvel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so big shoes to big paws to fill, we'll say, for our guy Owen Teague in the new Planet of the Apes.
I saw the Planet of the Apes trilogy since COVID, like probably last fall or something like that, for the first time. And like I had seen the first one, the James Franco one,
Yeah.
Lithgow one. I had never seen the other two, the Matt Reeves sequels.
Yes.
Mhm.
Those things are excellent.
Yeah, that's
Excellent.
basically how Reeves got the Batman gig.
Yes.
Coming
Excellent.
off of those.
Yeah.
Right. And no, those movies are great.
Mm-hmm.
Those movies got better with each one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that he'd keep going, but I understand, why he hasn't. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see about Planet of the Apes. We will also see about this one is a little controversial. King Kong. I know there's already a King Kong franchise, but there's going to be another one. This one is going to be on Disney Plus, and it's going to be a TV series, and it's going to be based on the novels produced by James Wan. So
That was a roller coaster right there. It's like
Yeah, that was a-
Kong series produced by based on the novels by James Wan. Like
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in this story, and it's gonna be written by the creator of Paper Girls.
Okay.
A lot of IP happening.
and now you're like, and it's all sock puppets. Oh, designer
I
socks.
love it.
Oh.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a little curious about whether there's enough story for a series set on Skull Island. Maybe a mini series, but
I think that sounds like one of those be careful what you wish for things where it's like, I want to know the history of Skull Island. And then you find it and you're like,
this is how he got the name King Kong.
So they ate the fruit from a certain tree and it made them grow real big. That's dumb. Like, it's going to be some stupid thing. Like lightning struck the gorilla and the baby came out 50 feet tall. What?
Well, remember, everything on Skull Island is mythological. You know what I mean?
But not the people.
There's no people on Skull Island.
There are people on Skull Island because they would.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot
But
about
they're not
those
like
people.
giant people.
Fair. We're going to learn the history of how the people learn to coexist with King Kong. That's what we're going to learn.
By feeding him women.
White women. White women. White women, very important.
Feeding white women.
Oh, listeners, the fact that you're not Patreon subscribers and can't see the video feeds, that's why you need to subscribe to the Racial Draft on Patreon. You can see the antics. You can see Stephanie's antics, worth the price of admission.
I've done nothing.
Nothing.
I'm living my best life.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, which reminds me, I need to take a shower.
Well,
so
it reminds me that we made it through all of our stories, guys. How do you feel? Actually, that's not true. Yeah, we made it through our stories. We had a lot, but we jumped around.
Yeah.
We jumped up, and down. Anyway, since you've been gone.
I like doing this. I actually haven't been catching up with the news because, I moved and my new job and stuff. So I haven't been looking at any of the news. I've been like peeping in on Twitter and then saying, and like closing it. So thanks. I like getting like a rundown.
Yeah. So
I think it's interesting that they dropped the Max Shackman news 2 weeks before, or that the Max Shackman news is leaking 2 weeks before.
Yeah. They didn't drop the Max Shackman.
They didn't drop it.
The Max Shackman news got leaked. And there's a lot more news. There's a lot more news that's gonna get leaked.
Are any of you going to D23?
No.
I am not.
Okay.
You know what? I'll actually be, so I live in Chicago and I will actually be in town while TJ from the White Delegation is in town, and I'm supposed to be meeting up with him, taking him out to eat and whatnot.
Please take pictures.
He is setting it up before he gets here rather than rubbing it in my face after.
Nice. like some people.
Kia was just like, you didn't even call me to see if I wanted to go out. I was like, I didn't know you were in town, Kia. How was I supposed to know?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. You show up in someone's city, you text them.
You say, hey, I'm in your city. Right, exactly.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I guess nobody wanted to hang out with me when I landed in the city without telling him what my travel itinerary was. Yeah.
Much to Kia's surprise, it was not notified on the news that Kia was in town.
Yes, exactly. You didn't have that app that tracks random people. But listeners, we hope you enjoyed our journey. Hope you enjoyed getting brought up to speed on the news stories that you missed since you've been gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to try to do this every week so that I don't have to sing that song again. But go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. Start with you, Stephanie.
You can find me in the trap.
I'll leave it at that. Jared, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at Jared Kirsch, KIRSCH _. And you can find stuff, do a little shameless plug. I write for Murphy's Multiverse sometimes. So find stuff on there.
Nice. And Carlos, where can they find you?
Well, not in the trap, but you can find me in the club.
Hey. Bam.
You can find me at Carlos Freitas JR on Twitter, and you can find my articles on agentsoffandom.com.
Yes, and you can find me also on Twitter at MTFIII. You can occasionally find my writing at Murphy's Multiverse when I'm not slacking. And you can also find the Racial Draft at the local places like where you're listening, your podcast platforms. You can also find our social media at Twitter at Racial Draft Pod, at Instagram at racial.draft, and at Facebook, Racial Draft. And stay tuned. There's going to be some more content coming from the Racial Draft channels. As always, we are always looking for Patreon subscribers. We still haven't gotten the OnlyFans facial draft thing up and running. But one day we will. But until next time, people, all things are possible.